What if I told you that your personal debt, your nation's debt, and even the financial crisis that we face today all trace back to two organizations most people can't name? In this video, I'm going to break down the hidden role of the International Monetary Fund, and I'm going to break down the Bank of International Settlements when it comes to global debt creation. Now, we're going to talk about how they influence local economies without ever being on your radar, and how their systems are tied directly to your credit, inflation, and financial struggle. Now, I've studied monetary policy, international finance, and how global debt mechanisms trickle down into your personal life, and today we're connecting the dots on what they hope you never do. Now, before we dive into this video, make sure to like the video. You dig me? You like the video, that's going to help the algorithm push videos like this forward, okay? We're going to be talking about things that nobody talks about, okay? We're not going to get theoretical, and we're not going to turn this into some type of conspiracy. All we're going to be talking about is true international and financial truth. You dig me? So, another thing, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. This is only for educational purposes only. Please treat it as such and make sure you do your due diligence even after watching this video, if you are even more interested. Now, we're going to be talking about the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. We're going to be talking about the BIS, which is the Bank for International Settlements, which in other words is the central bank of all central banks. I mean, when you think of the Federal Reserve is a central bank of the United States, but what if there's a bank of them? You know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about them and how they're the gatekeepers as it pertains to debt and how everything starts with them. We're going to be talking about how debt is engineered globally, because I know that there are different countries that watch my videos and may try to figure out, okay, well, how does this apply to them? So we're going to be talking about that too. We're going to be talking about the role of the BIS in normalizing debt creation. And we're going to talk about why this matters to you personally, okay? And how to be able to break free from the system. So make sure you stay all the way to the end, because we have a lot of things to cover. And again, we want to make sure that we are connecting those dots so that we can be able to go and grow and free ourselves from this matrix, from this fraudulent activity that's happening, all right? So let's dive straight in. Okay, first things first, what I want to bring up, okay, is what the International Monetary Fund is. Okay, the purpose is to ensure the stability of international monetary system, which includes exchange rates and international payments. Okay, it achieves this by promoting global monetary cooperation, encouraging international trade, and fostering sustainable economic growth and poverty reduction. It also provides financial assistance to member countries facing balance of payment problems, okay? Offers technical assistance and training to help countries build their economic capacity. So, in other words, the IMF lends to countries under financial stress with strict conditions, reform, and putting them in position so that they are able to, be assisted financially. They give them loans, okay? And then we're going to talk about the BIS, which is the Bank for International Settlements, okay? So the Bank for International Settlements is often referred to the central bank of central banks due to its role and functions. It's an international financial institution owned by member central banks, okay? Now we're getting to a different level. I mean, we have banks, then we have central banks, and then we have the bank of all banks, which is the BIS, okay? So, the International Monetary and Financial Cooperation, the BIS primary goal is to foster international monetary and financial cooperation among central banks. It also acts as the bank for central banks, providing services and facilities to them. The BIS is owned and governed by member central banks, ensuring its perspective is aligned with the needs of central banking. The BIS plays a crucial role in supporting central banks in their pursuit of monetary and financial stability. You dig me? So this is the Bank of the Federal Reserve. Crazy. All right. Now, I want you guys to understand that these aren't just institutions. They are actually architects of the modern debt grid. Okay. Everything as it pertains to debt truly starts with them. And it's crazy how the more we tap into the information, the deeper that we get, the deeper in higher levels that we actually find and see how deeply rooted this is. Okay. So let's just talk about how debt is engineered globally, okay? IMF loans are not charity. They're used to trap nations in perpetual debt, the same exact way that the banks do us. Okay, so what if I told you that, damn, nations are also in the cycle of debt too? Okay, once a country accepts a IMF loan, its currency devalues, the public services get cut, and national assets are privatized, and austerity measures are forced onto the people. So when that happens, now the people take effect. Okay, when a country goes in debt, they are gonna make their people pay for it. Okay, so for example, Greece, Argentina, Sri Lanka, all pushed into structural reforms and harming the population. Okay, so debt isn't just a personal trap, it's global leverage. All right, so let's talk about the role of the BIS in normalizing debt creation. Okay, the BIS creates regulations, the Basel Records, which we see in 12 U.S.C. 1813, 1831, that determine how much banks can lend. It also promotes fractional reserve banking, where banks create money out of nothing. You know what I mean? This model filters down from global banks to national banks to local banks and then to you. Okay? You guys gather that structure. Okay? Everything starts with the global banks, BIS. Okay? Then those global banks lend to the national banks, which is the Federal Reserve. And then those Federal Reserves lend to the local banks. And then those local banks lend to you. And it's a trickle down effect of literally everybody borrowing money from each other and literally giving borrowed money to the next person so that they can pay their debts. When you start to get under the surface, it starts to become like, wow, it gets even deeper. It's almost like, damn, this will never end. But we're going to cover that right now. So you borrow money that was created as debt, not backed by real value. So the premise of the money that we get from banks is really debt, not only from the Federal Reserve, but from the global bank. So it's not even real money. It's debt. You know what I mean? This is the same model that's used globally and mandated by the BIS policy. So if you're in another country, just know that these debt rules more likely fall under the same jurisdiction, because if we are all under the Bank for International Settlements and the IMF, International Money Fund, then wouldn't that mean that the debt laws, even though everything that I talk about on my channel is geared towards the United States, but you can do the same exact thing for your country? Because how could we be getting credit and y'all are not? Okay, so every time you swipe your card or sign a loan, you are participating in their debt blueprint. Okay, so I always tell this to people, there's ways to be, this whole system is so deeply rooted that you have to truly decide if you want to be a part of it. And if you want to build wealth, you may in some way, shape, or form have to be a part of it, right? Until you build a sustainable wealth where you don't need it. And then beyond that, if you say you don't want to be a part of it, then it's a couple things that you need to do. You need to put yourself in position to where you are self-sustainable and you don't need to use debt. Or you have to decide to just completely stop using it, stop utilizing it. Okay? I'll tell you, there's some debts that I refrain from getting into purposefully, only because I know that the system is so deeply rooted that it kind of puts you in a cycle and in a trap. Okay, do I want to sit there and have a conversation with every single debt collector? Do I want to sit there and have to discharge every single debt? No, I don't. Okay, now if it's a debt that I truly want to utilize, then I will go ahead and do that. If it's credit cards that I'm planning to use for my business, okay? If it is, in some cases, I wouldn't even do an auto loan, okay? I wouldn't, I'd rather just pay off the car with my cash, okay? Because I'm not really looking to get things for free, okay? And I'm not looking to be in a battle with every single company that I do business with, you know what I mean? But it is a strategy that one can use, obviously, to overcome the system. If you feel trapped within the system, I don't feel trapped because I really have a choice. I don't just follow what society wants me to do. Society tells you, okay, as soon as you do this, you do that. As soon as you do that, you do this. And in that case, it's more of loans and debt and constant getting more debt and constantly putting yourself in position to where you are acquiring debt with no real purpose. Okay. See, when I acquire debt, it's for a purpose. It's not just to keep up with the Joneses or to do what everybody else is doing. Okay. Some people will have bad credit, go to the dealership and get them a new vehicle just because they feel like they need a vehicle. Instead of strategizing, saying, all right, bet, let me fix my credit. Let me put myself in position so I can get the lowest interest rate. So I don't have to deal with having to fight this company about getting my car repossessed, or later on when I don't want to pay $1,000 bill on a monthly basis. See, I just think strategically. I don't go and get something I can't afford just because I can get it on credit or layaway or whatever you want to call it. Okay. If you do, please move with the intention to either exercise these strategies immediately, not on happenstance or chance, or just pay it off so you don't have to deal with it. Okay. Here's why this matters to you personally. The same debt policies used for the IMF and the BIS trickle down into your credit cards, your car loans, your mortgage, and your student loans. So understand that you are not failing financially. You are operating in a rigged system of engineered scarcity. Okay. The system is designed to keep nations and people in perpetual obligation. All right. It's not a money system. It's a control system. So back to the fact that debt is just the unclaimed energy. Because remember, we talk about how energy is time, labor, and attention. The more time, labor, and attention you put into something, that is, if somebody is making you put time, labor, and attention into something out of your control, then they are in control. Okay. A lot of us claim and say, yes, we're the beneficiary of X, Y, and Z trust, but we are not truly able to, we're not benefiting right now. Okay. If anything, we are receiving all the negatives. A beneficiary in a trust model doesn't get any negative drawbacks. They only receive benefit. So imagine if you call yourself a beneficiary, but you're only getting the bad end of the stick. Okay. Not only are they keeping us in perpetual obligation and debt, they are also keeping nations in it. Now the nations, they do it to be able to build wealth and gain more power. And I'm saying you can do the same exact thing, but you want to be strategic and make sure you don't get in that perpetual debt cycle. You dig me? A lot of the times when we look at debt, there is the aspect of seeing debt as a negative. Okay, we're going to be paying this for the rest of our lives. But when you know that this is what the system is all about, then you know how to maneuver and navigate around it. You know how to just use it for what it's for, get in and get out. Okay, don't get me wrong. You can get trapped. You can get engulfed by it. Okay. And this is where on this channel, I teach you about, okay, bet if you ever get in a situation where you get engulfed by this trap, you can get out of it using proper legal strategies and legal principles and contract foundations and communication with the debt collector. Okay. Now, I don't know on those higher levels if they're able to do this, which I'm sure they are. Okay. But they are so deeply rooted and so deeply trapped. And those powers get stronger and stronger and stronger the higher you get on that board. I'm sure they feel the same exact way on a bigger scale like some of us do. So understand that their goal is to control you. Not only control you, but those powers above you or that you think is above you are also being controlled. Okay? A lot of people say, man, I want to just go climb up the mountain, reach the top. But the higher you go on the top, and I'll just speak in the corporate sense. Imagine if this is a corporate structure. The higher you go in a business, starting from being customer service to eventually becoming a manager, to eventually becoming a store manager, to eventually becoming a, executive, to eventually becoming a, chief executive. People think that they have more freedom as they go higher. Yes, they may not be doing a lot of, labor work like people at the lower levels, but once you get to those higher levels, you're actually being controlled more. Okay, you're actually more enslaved to the business than you think you are. Okay, or you think you will not be. Okay, think about the chief executive officer. If his business starts to dwindle, he can't take a vacation. He has to make sure that business is operating. He has to answer to the people that own the business. If anything, they get more of the brunt than the people down at the lower levels. This is why those managers, this is why those people that go up higher become even more stricter on the people that they are working with, because somebody's being strict to them. So even at your job, it's a trickle down effect, but it's the same exact thing when it comes to modern day banking. Okay. When it comes to modern day debt, everybody wants to have control over somebody else because somebody is controlling them. But that's where the true peace comes from. Okay, obviously we do this because we want to be able to move up financially, but the overall goal is to not be controlled, because once you're not being controlled, then you experience true freedom, true peace. Okay, they're not trying to use this to get philosophical, but let's just get to the fact of how to break free from their system. Okay, you must understand that money is credit, not cash. Here's why that is important. Because when you maneuver understanding that credit is not cash, then you will stop putting so much value on the cash, okay? You will start to treat everything like credit. You will start to understand that everything is in some way, shape, or form debt. And you would acquire credit and know that it's just digital. You would know that it's, not real, okay? It's for this game, okay? If it is credit, just know that there's a way out of it, okay? Because if somebody was giving you cash in hand, I buy it. By all means, I get that, right? You loan me cash, pay back cash, or if it was something of actual value, give it back if it's a loan. But if it's credit being created, then that's not something that technically one has to pay back, okay? Now, learn how your signature creates the value. Your signature is what's creating the credit. If you understand that you are the power, you are the one who holds the keys, you are the gold ingot, then you will start to maneuver as such. Not only in the aspect of you going and acquiring that credit and acquiring that debt, but understanding that you can use that against them. Because knowing that, that they'll never be able to prove that they funded or financed the loan. Their only argument is that they financed or you agreed to a loan. But what if they never loaned you anything? What if they just created something based off of your signature? Dig me? You use consumer law and contract law to challenge those obligations. When somebody say you're obligated to pay something, you can challenge them back and have them prove that the obligation is actually an obligation. You have them prove that you didn't already fulfill the obligation by using your signature. And contract law and consumer law has regulations in place so that you can do this. A lot of times people think that you can't do this or think that everything that I'm saying is conspiracy or theoretical, but you can actually go online, look up these consumer laws and look up your consumer rights, and you can look up the contract law foundations, and you can learn these things and use it to battle against banking institutions. You know what I mean? Consider trust structures and private administration to reclaim your power. See, when you maneuver through a trust, then now it falls under equity. When it falls under equity, now it kind of takes it out of the jurisdiction of just the UCC or commercial procedures and commercial processes. It takes you from being a debtor to now a trust, okay? And then the private administrative process is literally enough for you to be able to create your own paper trail in case they try to publicly embarrass you and take you to court and say that you didn't try to pay your debt. But if you have the private administration or the private record of you communicating with that debt collector, then you can go ahead and send this, or you can go ahead and present this in court or present this to their lawyers or attorney, whoever says that you owe them a debt, and you can prove their non-performance. And if they didn't perform, then what do you have to perform on? Okay, if you're simply asking them questions based off of contract law and consumer law on whether or not the contract is valid, whether or not they financed or funded the loan, whether or not they didn't already make money off the loan, whether or not your signature didn't create the credit or not, they can't answer these questions that would make you of legal capacity or have you or give you full disclosure about the agreement you signed. And the only thing that they can say is literally a small item on the thing on the contract that says you agreed to pay. But just because you signed a contract doesn't mean you're absolutely bound to it. Okay? You're not bound to something you didn't have legal capacity over. You are not bound to something that is was fraudulent from the beginning. Okay, you can sign something, but if they manipulated you or induced you to sign it or persuade you to sign it by not giving you the full details of his character, then your signature really doesn't mean you agreed to anything. Okay? And lastly, you opt out this debt trap by knowledge, not panic. Okay? So freedom begins when you stop reacting and start understanding the rules. Okay? When you know the rules of the game, you can start maneuvering differently. When you have the knowledge of the facts, then you will not be taken advantage of. Someone will say, well, they're going to say that I did. They're going to ask me a simple question and say, did I finance the loan? But that question is irrelevant if I ask the company if they financed me. You dig me? It's not about me financing a loan. I asked you if you loaned me something. If I ask you if this is an actual loan, you asking me if I financed it, how does that help your argument? It's irrelevant, okay? If you said that I agreed to pay, yeah, that you just told me that you just told me what a promissory, you just told me that I signed a promissory note, which is a promise to pay. So if it's a promise to pay, that is a negotiable instrument. That negotiable instrument is a financial asset to you guys. Am I correct about that, Your Honor? Well, okay. Go ahead and try to lie to me because I already have it right here. UCC 3-104 that breaks down what the negotiable instrument is. Can you guys prove that the negotiable instrument didn't already make you guys money? Because if you guys made money already, isn't there such thing as double recovery? This is why you got to have the knowledge, because I feel free. I don't feel bound by debt. Okay? Don't get me wrong. I made mistakes in the past, but this is why I'm here today, to bring awareness, to help one be able to have knowledge. Okay? Because once you have knowledge and once you have the awareness, then nobody can take advantage of you. Okay? Even the people who are in this industry teaching people, right? They're not giving a free game. They're putting it behind a paywall. And the only paywall that I have is the complete guide where I actually write the letters and templates. But I'm going to teach you everything for free. I'm going to help you understand it for free. I can tell you that you can go online, type in these exact terms, .pdf, and you'll be able to find these letters. But here's the thing. Most people can learn it, but they have a problem with executing. And that's where I kind of come into play. You dig me? That's where you can get the complete that guide, see my breakdowns, but also at the same time get my blueprints and step-by-step processes. Okay. Also at the same time, if you want to work with me, I do have a one-on-one mentorship where I help people fix their credit, help people get funded, and help people start a business. But now I'm opening up for the very people who are looking to challenge debt collectors, who are looking to discharge debt, who are looking to understand the consumer law process. I'm opening that up as well. But it is not a get out of jail free card. This is for people who genuinely want to learn and going to take this long term. Okay? This is not something that's going to, if you have an active bankruptcy or if you're in a situation where your back is against the wall, I'm probably not going to be able to just help a person whose back is against the wall. Okay? It's only for a person who genuinely wants to strategize and come up with a customized plan to be able to challenge a debt collector or has some unwanted debt that they want to get rid of. But we'll talk about that over the phone. Tap into that one-on-one mentorship if you are serious about working with somebody that knows how to do this and is going to give you the game. Okay? Not going to hold anything back. Okay? And number 2, check out my Instagram at biz.nick. Okay? Also, check out my Twitch at biz.nick. When we reach 100,000 followers, I will go live. So thinking about these breakdowns, yes, you see them on YouTube, but imagine if I was live where you can ask me questions, where we can have our own conversation and I can literally answer questions. So tap into the Twitch. Okay? Might start doing the YouTube videos live on Twitch and then going ahead and putting it on YouTube later. But other than that, if you ever felt like you was born into a system you didn't agree to, let's talk about it in the comment section. Remember to like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications because I do post Monday through Friday. Hit the subscribe button, okay? Because you can't beat the system if you don't understand it. Can't beat the system if you don't have the knowledge. Now, if you got all the way to the end, comment the word discharge. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey.